Hi, my name's Mark Clements and I'm the Regional Head of HR for UK and Ireland and Eastern Europe here at Sony Electronics in Weybridge. My role is basically to look after HR day-to-day and governance issues for 21 countries and pretty much the legal side and wellbeing side of HR. So at Sony, we've been recently doing a lot of variety of activity here at Sony on well-being. Some issues have included mental health first aider training, which was very powerful and effective, and I recommend to everybody. We did a campaign called Being Me, which was about celebrating sort of diversity and inclusion, but not with any particular protected characteristic in mind, but more just be nice to everybody. You never know what's going on in their private life. Maybe they've got caring responsibilities, maybe they've got financial problems, health issues. Be nice to everybody and recognise that everybody's on a journey and you don't necessarily know what's going on. We had a number of speakers come in and talk to us, somebody with alopecia, a parent with children with autism, a very successful blind accountant in the city, somebody that had health issues and a kidney transplant. Really powerful real life stories of how people have built up resilience and overcome adversity, and now actually people at Sony are sharing their stories of real life, which has been very, very powerful. We're really finding here at Sony that by making it okay to talk about the issues and challenges people have in life, that people are much more prepared to talk about the issues and are really inspiring others to come forward. We're having people come and say to HR, look, we recognise we maybe need some mediation, or we would benefit from using the employee assistance program. We're finding they go and speak to the mental health first aiders. So it's really kind of broken a taboo, you might say, and people are opening up, asking for support and making it okay to talk about stress, anxiety and mental health generally. Basically, the impact on business is people are more engaged, people are more positive. You know, of course, if you're able to ask for help and get it, then you're less likely to kind of suffer in silence, perhaps go off sick. So, you know, really only a positive reaction. And of course, we're seen as a caring employer with a duty of care that, you know, doesn't just say it, but actually delivers on the support when people really need it. So all positive, really. For me, stress is a very personal thing, and you can't define it in one way as good and one way as bad necessarily. It will differ for everybody. I mean, I do amateur dramatics myself, and I, you know, find that a bit of stress, a bit of stage fright beforehand actually makes me sure, you know, makes sure that I learn my lines, that I'm prepared, and in a way gives me some adrenaline that I think enhances my performance. And I think the same applies at work. You know, I like a challenge. Some people thrive on that. Of course, the negative side is where that balance of stress and what's expected of you really becomes too much and overwhelming. And that really does differ person to person. From a personal point of view, I would say, you know, I've been in HR for 30 years. I have quite a stressful job. I actually thrive on it. I'm kind of super calm under pressure. I've dealt with some very sensitive and complex and quite emotionally tough situations over my career. However, I have to say, for me, in a way, maybe that came out, my own stress was the fact that I used food. I ate too much. And basically, I suddenly found myself a few years ago at 25 stone, which I really couldn't quite believe I'd let myself get into that position. And I'm sure, looking back and having gone through my kind of weight loss surgery and the journey leading up to that, what some of my triggers were, you know, cheering myself up with food, celebrating by having food, and food was very much the constant. And in hindsight, that was how I coped with stress. Before I had my weight loss surgery, we had to do a kind of program, in effect, to make sure we were mentally ready for the changes to our life and could cope of what was coming. And that, for me, is when I had a light bulb moment and was really introduced to mindfulness. We did a taste test where they asked us to close our eyes. They put a raisin on our hand, asked us to sort of smell it, feel it, taste it, bite into it but not chew it, release the flavours. And I was like, wow, that's the nicest raisin I've had in my whole life. And in a way, the point they were making is normally you get a big handful of raisins, they don't touch the sides on the way down and you don't really notice them. So for me, that was the light bulb moment for mindfulness and living in the moment, appreciating what you've got, taking notice on purpose, using all of your five senses, what you see, taste, smell, see, hear, and living your life in a different way. And I have to say, I went on, became qualified as a mindfulness professional, and I've been training various people from senior management teams to all employees in this country, abroad, our sister companies, with a really unexpected, actually, and very positive reaction. I think I've probably trained more than 300 people now in this, what I call introduction to mindfulness. Not just the kind of formal taking time out and perhaps doing a guided meditation for 10 minutes a day, but the other 99% of your life and how you live your life in a different way. And there's just so much science out there to, you know, they're teaching it in schools, at Harvard, in the boardroom, in the police force, even the Thai school rescue from the cave. Mindfulness techniques, it really is kind of simple but very, very powerful, helping with mental health, stress, anxiety, self-harming, you name it. A really fascinating topic, and I'm so pleased to have discovered it, albeit later in my life, but yeah, definitely positive. Absolutely, definitely, yeah, to kind of know your triggers and to say, hang on, am I really hungry, or am I just kind of calming myself down or trying to relax? You know, and obviously surgery helps, but it's not as easy, it's not a quick fix. I had to only drink milk and have no food for a month to shrink my liver before the surgery, for example. But yeah, I'm proud of myself. I've lost 9 stone, about to have surgery to move excess skin and in a way finish the journey. So getting very personal, but hey, it's real life. It's impacted on me. And you know, the fact that I fit on a seat on an aeroplane, don't have to have the aisle seat in a theatre. I love the theatre. You know, these are all life-changing, maybe small steps to some, but for me they were quite a big issue. Yeah, much more confident, feel better in myself, but you know, have an empathy with other people struggling in other ways in life. I mean, one of the wellbeing activities we did was around autism awareness in the workplace. Again, one of my daughters has Asperger's syndrome, so I have a bit of a family connection there, but I was amazed at how much interest there was in the topic at Sony, and just how many of my colleagues, some who were even in my own team, had family issues, similar family issues I never knew about. So again, another perhaps stigma or topic that was you know, uncovered and is now much more openly talked about. So no bad thing. I mean, going back to mindfulness, if you was to say to me a couple of years ago that I'd be practicing it every day and almost an advocate promoting it, I wouldn't have believed you. I thought it was for tree huggers and hippie types. So the fact that me as a kind of city boy that was very skeptical got it and sees the benefits of it, I would really recommend anyone to kind of give it a try. There's a great app actually I discovered called 10% Happier, which was an American news anchor that had a bit of a panic attack live in front of 5 million people, and has since gone on to be heavily involved in mindfulness. And he's even got, I think it's called Mindfulness for Fidgety Skeptics. And again, a bit like me, he tells the story of, for him to get it, to see the benefits of it, anyone can get. So I would say, hey, give it a go. What have you got to lose? I mean, if the question is how do I cope with a particularly stressful period, do I do anything different to my normal sort of routine of a 10-minute kind of mindfulness every day and trying to live my life in a more mindful way? The honest answer is no. What I'm finding is that I'm not having those sort of peaks and troughs, and somehow doing the mindfulness makes me much more calm and resilient all the time. Of course, you don't become some non-emotional blob that doesn't get triggered anymore, but you have the thought of negativity of being triggered, you recognize it, and then you adapt your behavior accordingly. So, my mum's been diagnosed with cancer recently, obviously a very horrible thing, very stressful, but it is what it is, and I feel able to cope and deal with each day as it comes. I mean, one of the bits of science on mindfulness is that it really teaches you that the brain, due to evolution, has a kind of negative bias. So once you know that, by doing things differently, one exercise is to count on your fingers 10 things to be positive about or grateful for. In a way, you're reinforcing the positive aspects of life so that you don't get drawn into perhaps one negative thing that happened yesterday. You don't sweat the small stuff. And actually, another technique that my coach encouraged actually is positive affirmations. Sounds a bit strange. Again, it took me a while to get my head around it, but it's to basically write down and read every day some positively framed statements. So one of my development opportunities is maybe to listen a bit more. So one of mine is, I am a good listener. Now, some would argue I'm still working on that. It's a positive affirmation, and it's aspirational, and there were others like that. So I have in my diary a calendar reminder that flashes up, and I read those every day. Again, anything positive to reprogram your brain, keep it on its toes, and balance out this negative bias is a good thing, and makes for a happier and more enjoyable life. You notice more, especially nature. I do a lot of driving. I find myself sitting stuck on the M25 a lot. Then looking up, looking at the beautiful sky, and perhaps seeing, a red kite or a rainbow. I'm wondering why nobody else in the car next to me isn't noticing. So obviously, we can't change what's going to happen to us in life. What we can do, however, is choose how we respond to it. And for me, that's really what mindfulness is. Wow, what do I like about myself? That's a tricky one. Um, Mindfulness helps you reflect and kind of be a bit more gentle on yourself and not judge yourself too harshly. So with that in mind, I would say, do you know what? Actually, I'm quite good fun. Um, we have a laugh at work as well as working hard. So yeah, quite good fun. Super good and calm under pressure, which in my job, as you can imagine, is quite key. And in a way quite often takes the emotion out of some pretty tricky discussions. So I'm proud of that. And actually, I'm authentic, I think, is the sort of buzzword at the moment. I talk to everyone. I'm the same inside work as I am outside work. I'll talk to the receptionist and the security guard coming into the building and the catering staff in the same way as I would with the MD or CEO. So I am me. I guess I'm just being me.